for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, back in Montreal, and I want to thank the Titan Group, and I want you to check them out at titan.com/hospitality, and you'll see all their chain of hotels, from the Mont Gabriel Resort to the Mount Stephen Club, a Hotel 10, the Montreal Marriott Chateau Champlain, the Nouvelle Hotel on René Lévesque and Guy, Hotel La Sagayenne, Strata Hotel, Travel Lodge Montreal Center, Sens Hotel, Chateau Versailles, Travel Lodge Quebec, and Club de Tennis Ile des Sades, as well as the Ocean Sky Hotel and Resort. And you can check that out at oceanskyresort.com. That's where I was staying over the past several days in beautiful Fort Lauderdale at 4060 Galt Ocean Drive and the Galt Ocean Mile. And once again, special thanks to the Titan Group. It was much appreciated. What a beautiful place to stay at if you're spending a couple of days vacationing in South Florida. Without further ado, let's get to today's podcast. Yesterday, of course, we talked about Lane Hutson winning the Calder Trophy. Today, we could tell you that he finished 9th in voting for the Norris Trophy. Congratulations go out to Cale Makar, who won the award this year. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Without further ado, one guy who knows a thing or two about Cale Makar, Lane Hutson, and the National Hockey League, of course. And he is co-host of the Sick Podcast, The Eye Test, along with Jimmy Murphy. And he's also my co-host during the season for Montreal Canadiens post-game shows on the Sick Media Network. Pierre Maguire, how are you?
It's so nice to be back with you, Tony. I saw you down in South Florida hanging out with the supermodels. It was fantastic. And so glad to see those pictures of you and the great one, Wayne Gretzky, posted online. Beautiful.
Pretty cool. Thank you very much. South Florida, I got to tell you, there's worse things in life than living down there. I'll tell you that right now. But anyway, congratulations to Lane Hutson. We talked about it yesterday, winning the Calder Trophy. Pierre, if there's someone who's not surprised, it's you.
No, not surprised at all. I think there should have been an investigation and some voting rights taken away from people if he had not won. I mean that sincerely. It was so obvious from probably game 45 of this season. And part of that was Macklin Celebrini getting hurt too. Let's be totally fair. Macklin's a special player. I watched Macklin and Lane play at Boston University, and on the power play in particular, it was crazy how much better they were than the other players they were playing against. But no, he deserved to be the Rookie of the Year. He deserved where he finished in the Norris Trophy. I thought the Norris Trophy would go to Makar. I thought that Zach Werenski would finish second, and I thought Quinn Hutson would finish third, and that's exactly how it played out. I think you'll see. I think over time you're going to see Lane Hutson be in that top three group. I really believe that. I don't think it'll happen next year, but I think the year after that you're going to start to see where he's always in the top three.
Wow, this is amazing because one of the things we talked about François Gagnon yesterday of RDS is the sophomore jinx. Obviously, you don't think this is going to happen to Lane Hutson. So tell me why it's not going to happen.
He's an addict to the game. The sophomore slump happens, and I've coached many players that have gone through the sophomore slump. They have real good rookie years. They go home. Everybody tells them how cool they are, how great they are, and how just everything's onward and upward. For Lane Hutson, people have been telling him that for a long time. But, Tony, here's the thing. This guy's addicted to the game. He's addicted to being in the rink. He's addicted to pushing himself to the next level. He's addicted to excellence. I don't see any sophomore slump for him. I don't think the Canadiens are going to take a step back next year. I know a lot of pundits believe they will, I don't believe that. I think the Canadiens are going forward in a positive way, and Lane Hutson will be one of the guys driving that forward progression.
All right. You believe he's amazing for a multitude of reasons. I believe he's amazing for a multitude of reasons. But everyone's heard now since game 45 on, like you said, how amazing he is. Why don't we take a different angle today and talk about things that he needs to work on to enter that discussion of top 3 voting for the Norris Trophy that you just talked about. You said it's probably not going to happen next year, but you believe he's going to be in that discussion in years to come going forward. What does he need to do to get in that discussion? Because we saw some mistakes in the playoffs. We saw a lot of great things on the offensive side of the puck. On the defensive side of the puck, we saw what I call learning moments for a player like this. We saw a lot of learning moments. What can he learn? Where can he learn? How can he learn it? How fast can he learn it? What should the points of emphasis be in terms of learning moments, Pierre?
First point of emphasis should be offensive zone reads. When to step down, when to back off. That's learned. You can learn that. He has to be less reckless, and I believe he will. So they'll just show him tape. Here's what you did wrong. Here's when you did it wrong. We'll work on that. That's number one. Number two,
if we can't, Pierre, for Hockey 101, those who are watching from a basic point of view, we're talking about the puck in the offensive zone, recognizing maybe you're the last man back, going in, trying to force the puck in. All of a sudden it gets banked off the boards and there's a breakaway or a 2-on-0 the other way type of thing. Learning when to go and when not to go.
Yes, and there are times when you can go, but how you approach it. Do you go straight on the puck carrier? Do you come from an angle from inside, or do you come from an angle from the outside? So you have to understand there's schematics that go into that too. That's a little higher into the food chain, but I believe they'll teach him that. Second thing, neutral zone gap control. Because he's a smaller player and because he can skate, he's not afraid to take chances. He's got to back off a little bit and understand how to control the gap a little bit better. Again, that's film study, and I believe he will get to that. The third thing is taking away time and space quicker when you're in an isolated coverage situation from the hash marks all the way down to the corner. He needs to recognize he's got to close quicker, because when you're smaller, if you don't close quick, guys are going to overpower you getting to the net. We saw that a lot, especially against Washington. So that's another thing that's pretty easy to identify. They'll show him tape, and then they'll just work with him. This is where I think it's going to be very easy for him to get better. Peripheral vision on the power play, he's already got great peripheral. So now you got to recognize your outlets. Who's your most dangerous man? Is it Nick Suzuki on the right side? Is it going to be Cole Caulfield on the left side? Is it maybe going to be Juraj Slafkovsky in the slot, or Demidov? Or is it going to be maybe, I don't know, whomever you decide. But you got to recognize your outlets quicker, because you're going to be the quarterback of the power play. That's tape study, and that they'll get that. Here's where I think the big thing for him is slot area coverage, slot area presence in his own zone, and how to make sure you're not overwhelmed. Because the Washington series, you saw it, I saw it, he got overwhelmed a lot.
There was a learning moment, Pierre, if I can, in game 1 in overtime, where he left Alexander Ovechkin alone, unattended. There was a misread there, or talk to me about what happened there. I don't know if you can recall it.
Oh, I remember the play.
Yeah.
100%. The puck's coming out of the corner. Ovechkin pops into the high slot. Puck comes through. Hutson leaves his man. Ovechkin goes down to play on the puck because he's trying to do 2 jobs rather than 1. In that situation, you got your goalie, who's still a defensive asset, and you got yourself. You got to protect your area. You got to shield your area. Let the goalie be the other defender and hope you get some reinforcements coming back. But because he goes down to play the man behind the icing line, that puck comes out front. It's an easy finish for Ovechkin. So that, you're spot on. That's one of the examples. To me, and Tony, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, coached a bazillion games against Brian Leetch, and his partner was Jeff Bukaboom for a long time. Brian Leetch was an amazing player, Tony. He was an amazing, amazing player. A lot like Lane Hutson, a little bit bigger than Lane, but a lot like Lane. Brian Leetch really got to a certain level because he had Jeff Bukaboom next to him. I watched Sergei Zubov forever. I'm on the Hockey Hall of Fame selection committee. I definitely was part of it when Zubov got into the Hockey Hall of Fame. And I can tell you, Zubov got to the ultimate level of his career when he played with a guy by the name of Darian Hatcher in Dallas. Zubov was a good player in New York. but his defensive foibles were really apparent. Zubov was a good player in Pittsburgh, but his offense was not as proficient. When he got to Dallas, he was a finished product because he had Darian Hatcher.
So let's take a look at the common denominators here. Darian Hatcher, Jeff Bukaboom, both big boys,
Yes.
both huge wingspan, both
Yes.
long sticks,
Yes.
both defensive defensemen, both intimidating, and guys that could insulate a more talented partner should that partner become a target. We're finding common denominators here. We're finding, Pierre, I think, some of the ingredients that should be necessary in finding a defense partner one day for Lane Hutson.
So this is for fans that are older fans of the game, because this is a player that touched base in Quebec City and in Colorado and in Columbus. Now he's a head coach of Vancouver. Adam Foote would be that guy right now if he could play. Adam Foote would be exhibit A for what helped Lane Hutson, but he's coaching. His career is over as a player. So that's the kind of, and it's hard to find those guys. Adam Foote's are really valuable. I watched Adam Foote play in Sault Ste. Marie. He was a tough guy. He was a mean, tough guy. But you've got to find those guys, and when you do find those guys, they're important. Now, there are guys like that around the league. There are guys like that around the league, but you got to do the pro scouting matters, and it's not always about the sexy pick. Nico Mikkola. Okay, let's just use him as an example.
Love that guy.
Of course you do. But St. Louis didn't love him. They drafted him 139th in his draft year. New York Rangers didn't love him. They let him go. Florida Panthers, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So you got to find somebody like that. And there are guys like that out there. I'm telling you right now. And I'm not saying he's the perfect fit, but they're guys out in the West. I don't want to say names because they're all involved in teams. I don't want to start rumors. But there are a lot of guys in the West that I'd be looking at if I were Montreal. There's some guys.
And the examples you gave, you don't have to go out and break the bank to go out and get a guy like that, because there are some guys who, like, for example, let's just say they would have broke the bank, right?
Yep.
Could a Seth Jones have been a potential partner for Lane Hutson going forward? He's with the Florida Panthers right now, but he came at a heavy price tag. But Florida said, hey, you know what? You pay a little bit of that salary, we'll take him. A lot of people thought he was awful in Chicago, and some thought he was overrated. Now, all of a sudden, he goes to Florida. He's insulated. He's got Gustav Forsling. He's got Mikkola. He's got Aaron Ekblad. And everyone's saying, what a pickup Seth Jones was. This guy's good after all. He's playing on a good team with good players. Of course he's good.
And he's highly motivated because he wants to prove people wrong. PPW, prove people wrong. So you're spot on, Tony. You couldn't be more correct. So there are players like that to be had. I don't want to give names of players that aren't contracts right now, but I can tell you right now, a lot of those guys become available. They just do, especially at this time of the year. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think if you do all the things you and I just talked about, and you added a partner with size, I think that helps Lane Hutson a ton.
So you're looking for a big right-handed defenseman who can play his obviously his 20 minutes per game, because Hudson's going to play more than that with special teams. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yep. Now, in his prime, David Savard had a lot of those characteristics. But David Savard had a lot of hard miles, and those shot blocks, I'll use Ryan McDonough as an example. Those shot blocks start to add up on your body. It's a lot like taking a big hit if you're a boxer. The more you get punched, the more difficult it is for you to go to the gym the next day. And it's the same with defensemen that blocked a ton of shots. And for McDonough, his time in New York was amazingly great for his career. But I can tell you right now, it took a lot of miles off the odometer for him. So players like that you're looking for. And you might only have them 2 or 3 years until you can find somebody internally.
He's 35 years old, and he's a left-handed defenseman, but a prime Matthias Ekholm?
Oh, my gosh. That's a really good point by you. And, I obviously he's better on the left side. Matthias is better on the left side than the right side. But, yes, that would be a very good fit for him. Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to you don't want to give any names. I get it, but at least we know the ingredients of what we're looking for here.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Canadians are already on that, and I'm sure they didn't look at, I've got a lot more years in the league than the people that are working there, But that's why I go back to a player like Leach. That's why I go back to a player like Zubov, and I look at what Jeff Bukaboom did for Leach. And Leach would be the first person to tell you. That's why I talk about Darian Hatcher and what he did for Zubov. People forget, Zubov and Leach led the Rangers in scoring in 1994 when they won the Cup. Tony, you can look that up now. But I'm just telling you, when Hatcher and Zubov were together and when Leach and Bukaboom were together, it made a huge difference in both of their career, the players, Leach and Zubov.
Okay, I want to throw out a name, but the worry that I have, and I'd love for you to be able to answer this, is that this player is a third pairing defenseman. He's a 6. So if I give you a name and he's a third pairing defenseman, he's a 6, can he still possibly be a defense partner for Lane Hutson, considering the amount of time Hudson's going to be on the ice?
Yep, because he's not going to be doing those special teams jobs that Lane will be doing, especially on the power play. Lane's going to run the first power play. So you're looking between 6 and usually 10 minutes extra per game for him on the power play. So go ahead.
What do you think of Jamie Alexiak?
Jamie Alexiak did a lot of really good things. I saw him play in Dallas. I was in the pod with him. He's in Seattle right now. Bigger body, can really skate. He's very coachable. I'd have no problem. He would fit in with. He would fit there.
He's 32 years old. He's a big 6'7", 255 pounds, and he's the final year of his contract, which pays him $4.6 million. Anyway, it's
but that's a good one. So remember what I said to you before. They're guys in the West. I don't want to talk too much about names, but they're guys in the West. If you're watching the West a lot, you'll see some bigger guys out there that can play. Yeah,
there's one in St. Louis who's amazing, but I'm not so sure they want to give him up.
No, he's not going to.
Yeah, well, I know, but you know what I'm talking about. All right, okay. We talked about learning moments for Lane Hutson. We want to try and find those because we really want this player to be in that discussion that you talked about in the top 3 for Norris Trophy going forward. So when we talked about that learning moment in basically leaving Ovechkin unattended in game 1 in overtime in the playoffs, there was a learning moment in Utah, and I'm sure you remember it, right?
Off the face-off at the center ice position, 100%.
Off the face-off. And I think it was Dvorak who was taking the draw. I think Nick Suzuki was on his right, and I think Lane Hutson was on his left, and they all lined up in a line, of course.
And it's called 3 across. They went 3 across.
Yeah, and for Utah, I think it was it Chandler Stevenson? I think that was taking the draw, if memory serves me well.
You're right. You're so far. You got it.
I'm not so sure if Jordan Eberle was one of the other guys in Brandon Montour, but I could be wrong on Eberle. I'm just, anyway, doesn't I don't remember right now, but Brandon Montour was obviously the guy that was lined up facing Lane Hutson. And Montour actually had kind of like a leg over the red line, and it was a set play. Stevenson says to Montour, they practiced this, I'll make Dvorak win the draw clean. The puck will go back, and you go off to the races and take off. And I think it ended up being the fastest goal we've ever seen scored in an overtime period. He scored after 4 seconds. And you saw, what I love about Hutson, Pierre, is that the second he makes a mistake, he knows it. And what I also love about Hutson, it doesn't affect the rest of his game. Now, this is an example that I gave you in overtime, so we didn't have a chance to see him next shift after that. But when he makes a mistake in a hockey game, we gave 2 examples of 2 overtime winners. He tends to learn from them and rebound. But talk to me about that learning moment, what you remember seeing on that night.
Oh, I remember doing the post game, and that's the one thing that stood out. And I remember saying he won't make that mistake again. That's a set face-off, and they just caught hook, line, and sinker a young guy. They knew right away they had him because you're not thinking that. So what's the adjustment if you want to make it? First of all, you don't go 3 across. If you're the D-man, you drop off. So even the Kings coaches learned something from that too. Secondly, Dvorak's got to recognize that if you're 3 across, you can't try to win it back. You're trying to win it to the side. And then I think the third thing is Lane understands you can't be being a puck watcher there. You got to be aware of who your guy is. So there are 3 really good, distinct learning lessons. But no, I mean, I see what you see. I've been watching this player for a long time.
Yeah.
And so the growth I've seen him has been exponential. And I remember doing a show with you last probably June, maybe even May. We were talking about Lane.
Yeah.
And I said, he's going to come in and dominate, Tony. And you're like, where? In Laval or Montreal? And I'm like, no, in Montreal. So I'm just telling you, I'm not surprised by anything he does. And I know you're not either.
Yeah.
But this is for the people out there that doubted him. This guy is going to be in your face the rest of his career. unless he has a major injury, which I don't think because he's such an addict to being fit and strong and healthy.
Yeah.
He's going to have a 12 to 15-year career, and people are going to be blown away by his numbers.
By the way, I don't know what I was thinking, but Eberle's with Seattle. That was a game versus Utah. I'm trying to remember who that third player was.
No,
in
it's
that
okay.
line,
I didn't want to say anything. Montour's in Seattle too.
Who was that? So it was the game. It was the game versus Seattle. That's it.
It was Seattle. It was in Seattle.
It was in Seattle. It was not in Utah. Correct. No. Okay, so that's the game that it was, and that was it. It was Chandler Stevenson, who's their second line centerman behind Matty Berniers. It was Stevenson on the draw. It was Eberle on one wing, and it was Montour on the other. Okay, it was versus Seattle. That's it. That's it. Not Utah.
You watch, no, but you watch a lot of games. It's normal to have that. You know, sometimes they all blend together.
All right.
Don't worry.
Anyway, we got it right finally. Okay. When Quinn Hughes played his first playoff, he was not as effective as he was in the regular season, and that's normal, right? I think you could say the same thing for about most hockey players. But there are still some who say, okay, you know what? The small player can be a good player in the regular season. Okay, I'll give it to you. But he can't be overly dominant player in the playoffs. How effective can Lane Hutson be in the playoffs going forward? Can he have the same kind of impact that he does in the regular season?
100%. And one of the things I would be doing if I were the Canadians, I'd be showing him tapes of Nicky Lidstrom. They both play on the left side. Nicky was not a very physical player. Nicky was not a very large person. And Nicky's playoff record is unimpeachable. It's phenomenal. I'd be showing how Lidstrom played, how he took away time and space. One of the things I said he has to be better at, how he played the offensive blue line. One of the things I thought he had to be better at, and how he guarded in front of his own net, which is something he needs to get better at. I'm just telling you, Nicky wasn't a big guy, and Nicky was a really, really good player. I'd be showing tapes ad nauseum to Lane Hutson about Nicky Lidstrom.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. It's also brought to you by Playground. If you're looking for the ultimate entertainment destination, Playground is your ticket to nonstop thrills. Experience heart-pumping gaming action, a world-class poker experience. Playground is the 2025 winner of Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the Global Poker Awards. Indulge your taste buds at some of their incredible restaurants. Let loose with live music, electrifying DJs. Enjoy unmatched customer service just minutes from downtown Montreal, right across from the Mercier Bridge. Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary at Playground? It's all there. Visit playground.ca to discover more. All right, we'll get to more of our sponsors a little bit later. But who's going to win the Stanley Cup as we speak? It is a 2-1 series lead for the Florida Panthers over the Edmonton Oilers. Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. If your first bet loses, scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. All right. Until we get to the $1 million question once again, which is the contract, because that's the next thing coming for Lane Hutson, who, by the way, was ninth in Norris Trophy voting today. I think Shane Gaumont on Master Control has the list. Here you have it. Cale Makar with 1,861 points, had 176 first-place votes, and Zach Werenski had 13 first-place votes, and then it was 2 first-place votes for Quinn Hughes, and nobody else had any first-place votes. Isn't that something? But on this list, you'll see that Lane Hutson had 1 third-place vote and 5 fourth-place votes and 5 22-place votes. 22 five-place votes, pardon me. Pierre, that's something. So once again, 1 third-place vote, 5 fourth-place vote, 22 5-place votes. That's pretty cool.
There's only one player that I didn't think I treated very fairly on this list, Brock Faber, Minnesota. It just tells me that a lot of national people are not watching the Minnesota Wild, which is really unfortunate. That kid was unbelievable this year. Everybody raves about Jacob Slavin, and they should. And Jacob, finishes 8th on that list. Brock Faber is very similar. Just one guy plays in the right, Faber. The other guy plays in the left, Slavin. One guy's a lot older. Brock Faber's just turning 22. Slavin's almost 30 years of age. So, I like most of that list. I'm a little surprised Morrissey didn't get a first place vote, but when you look at it on Lane Hutson, that's appropriate, very, very appropriate. And I think long term, like I said, I think he's going to be a religious top 3 guy. I really believe that. But I don't think it'll be next year. I think it'll be a year after next year.
Is that fair for, if we could just bring it back up one more second, for Gustav Forsling? 13th.
The point. So this is more about points. If you look at Makar, Werenski, and Hughes, and even Morrissey, it's mostly about points. You get to Victor. There's a lot of defense there with Victor. You get to Slavin. There's a lot of defense there. Harley, I think a lot of those because of Miro Heiskanen being out, and also the Four Nations. People forget about the Four Nations, even though that shouldn't count in the voting. Yeah, that was his real coming out party. Same for Sanderson, by the way, who I was part of getting out of North Dakota and getting him into Ottawa. He's a tremendous kid and a great player. But the only guy that I can say on that list that I'm looking at that should be up higher is Brock Faber. Everybody else slots in really well.
Yeah. Okay. We put together a graphic yesterday, Pierre. I'd like to bring it up for you for Lane Hutson. All right. Okay. Take a look at this. Montreal's leading point getter with 66 points. Montreal's first in assists for 60 ahead of Suzuki's 59. Montreal +7 with Hutson on the ice, -34 without him. Montreal's leading point getter in the playoffs with 5 points. Tied for 6 with Victor Hedman for regular season points for a defenseman with 66. Second in 5v5 takeaways behind Jacob Slavin. 9th in assists per 60 among D. 15th in points per 60 among D. 11th in relative expected goals percentage among D. 10th in total defensive plays 5v5 among D. 5th in 5v5 passes to the slot among D. If there's one that stands out to you that's really impressive, which one would it be, even though they're all very impressive?
Well, the +7 is, pretty impressive when he's on the ice, and -34 without him. I pay attention to that stat a lot. And I think that's one that really stands out to me. And the other one would be second in 5-on-5 takeaways behind Slavin, because I know how good Slavin is, and so do you, and so do most of the fans now. But for a long time, people didn't. The fact that this guy wasn't winning major awards was mind-shattering, because people weren't watching Carolina. It's a lot like what I just said to you about Brock Faber. But those are the two, the +7 with him on the ice, -34 without him, and obviously the second in 5-on-5 takeaways behind Slavin. That's unbelievable.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you by several partners, and we thank them very much. And one of which, of course, is Souvlaki Authentique, and you know them for their amazing and delicious Greek food. They have 7 locations. New at Souvlaki Authentique, for a limited time, you can get your order delivered for just $2 when you order on their website. Yes, just $2. So go to souvlakiauthentique.com and enjoy fast, hassle-free delivery at an unbeatable price. And they have a loyalty program, so sign up before your next order and start accumulating points. By the way, I love the pitas there. Absolutely fantastic. And the Greek potatoes, beautiful. Also brought to you in part by Bittt TV. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the summer, with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light, ultra refreshing. Pierre, in ending, there's a name that has been brought up here over the last several days, 1 week. It was brought up by Nick Kyprios originally on Sunday in the Toronto Star, saying that several teams have interest in Las Vegas Golden Knights defenseman Nick Hague, left-handed defenseman, big boy, towering 6'5" plus, and the Montreal Canadiens are one of those teams. Early on in this conversation, you talked about the fact that Brian Leetch had a great defense partner in Jeff Bukaboom, and that there was a great Zubov had a great partner in Darian Hatcher. Yep. So we talked about names, and I said, can you take a third pairing defenseman on another team and have that guy be the partner for Lane Hutson? And you said, yes, you can. Yeah. So now I want to ask you, when you said the Canadiens are probably working on it already, can Nick Hague be that guy? And how much would it bother you that they would both be left-handed defensemen?
Yeah, that's the only thing for Nicky I worry about. I know he's played a little bit on the right side. I watched him play junior in the Ontario League too. I mean, he's a really good offensive player, way better than people think offensively. And the numbers, I think, would speak to that. But I worry a little bit about him being a lefty playing on the right side. I think Lane needs to stay on the left side. I really do. I think going forward, the meat of his career, That's where he's going to thrive. So that'd be the only downside. Doesn't mean it's terrible. You know, you're going to have to pay something to get him out of there. So the only thing I'm going to caution our fans, when you see that name leaked out of Vegas, that's leaked to create market value. They leaked that name to create market, and they didn't leak it in Vancouver. They didn't leak it in Edmonton. They didn't leak it in Chicago. They leaked it in Toronto because they know the Sunday paper in Toronto is going to be boom. And that's what, so they're trying to create market value on the player. That's why they do something like that.
Oh, that's an interesting take. And it probably helps that he's a Kitchener, Ontario boy as well, huh?
That's my point.
Okay, perfect. In ending, last one. Pierre Maguire is the GM of the Montreal Canadiens. What's his best offer to Sean Coffey, agent for Lane Hutson with Cortex Management? What's his best offer?
I'm Peter McTavish, who I worked with as part of that group too at Cortex. Big respect for him and for Sean. They're both really good at their jobs. I'd start working off of the Sanderson contract. I'd work off because I, again, was part of that, getting him out of Dakota and knowing where he was and where he was going. So I would work off the Sanderson contract, and that's how I would do it if I were the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens. And you know this better than anybody, Tony. Ken Hughes is a big part of what Cortex was.
Of course.
So there's going to be an amicable working relationship in terms of negotiating. They're not going to be yelling and screaming at each other. And again, that's why I use Sanderson as a comparable. If I'm Montreal, I say, okay, we know where we need to go. This is where we're prepared to start. And I think that's a very fair comparable.
And for those who are wondering, Jake Sanderson signed an 8-year deal. He signed that 2 years ago at a cap hit of just over $8 million, $8 million and 50. So there you have it. Pierre Maguire, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Great visiting with you, Tony. Thanks a lot.
Likewise. All right. Special thanks once again to our partners, to Energy Transportation Group, to Playground, to Bittt Tibi, to Betway, and to Souvlaki Authentique. And special thanks once again to the Ocean Sky Resort and Hotel in Fort Lauderdale for having us there over the last several days. Beautiful spot. Thanks for watching. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Shane Gaumont, Master Control, I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.